There's an old joke which says, why are churches like helicopters? Because if you hang around too long, you might get caught up in the rotors. And if you've been involved in churches for a while, you might well have ended up on one or more rota. But alongside rotors, the other seemingly inevitable part of the life of any organisation, Baptist churches including, is meetings. Planning meetings, team meetings, leaders meetings, meetings about meetings, and of course, the church members meeting. And while some meetings are valuable, helpful, and even essential, there are times, as the saying goes, when that meeting could have been an email. So how do we do meetings well, purposefully and meaningfully? As the leader in the church, how can we ensure that our time is well used and our meetings on our schedules are a blessing and not a burden, whether we're chairing the meeting or attending as a participant? Some of the principles and ideas we are going to cover in this course session will apply to meetings in any context. Perhaps you run or attend meetings at work or as part of other groups you're involved in. But any gathering as part of our being church should be different, even if the purpose might be described as business or planning. And the difference is that we are gathering as the people of God about the mission of God in and through his church. And that underpins all that we are and do. Or as we might say, it's because we are the church, we seek to gather with Christ at the center. Sometimes this is going to be expressed through starting and ending the meeting with prayer, which of course is a vital thing to do. But it's not the only way. Our meetings are shaped differently to meetings elsewhere. Otherwise, we are in danger of missing the point. Instead, the values and ethos of any meeting in the name of the church should be shaped by the values and mission of the church as the people of God. We should be seeking to hear and follow what the Spirit is saying. As Ruth Haley Barton put it, spiritual communities gather around a person, the person of Christ, present with us through the Holy Spirit. So all church meetings, even if they focus on practical or seemingly mundane things, should reflect this sense of fellowship. We are meeting as the people of God about his work. This might be a good moment to pause and reflect. When was the last meeting you were a part of that was good, productive, and life-giving? What made it that way? How can we help church-related meetings we are involved in reflect the love of Christ? What makes the difference? For any meeting we are a part of, a good starting question is, what is the purpose of this meeting? Many churches will have regular meetings such as monthly deacons or leaders meetings, and perhaps termly or quarterly meetings for other teams and groups. But as someone said, every meeting must start with purpose. Without it, everything else drifts. Several types of meeting purposes have been identified. Here are some. Decision making, information sharing, problem solving, planning and coordination, idea generation, and perhaps regular meetings will include several of these purposes alongside catching up and prayer. But it can be worth asking if a meeting is really necessary. If the purpose is simply to update, consider using email or shared documents instead. Psychologists have found the effects of a bad meeting can linger for hours. But one way we can avoid that happening, even before we enter the room or log on if it's an online meeting, and that is preparation. Preparation is, of course, key for the person facilitating or chairing the meeting, but also for everyone participating. For the chair or facilitator, preparation, at least for the formal meeting, will involve a clear agenda, perhaps with timings, material sent in advance, the right people being invited, clear expectations, making sure the room is set up appropriately or that technology is working if it's an online meeting. And even for informal meetings, a clear sense of direction will help create the right environment. As someone once said, clarity is kindness. For those attending the meeting, preparation includes arriving on time, reading materials beforehand, coming ready to contribute, praying for the meeting. Maybe you can think of a time when you've been rushed into a meeting unprepared. Of course, sometimes life happens and we don't hit the ideal of being perfectly ready. But it's amazing how much difference it can make and time it can save if everyone has come up to speed with the issues and is ready to contribute. The second key thing that can make the difference between a meeting being a good experience and a frustrating one is the role of the chair or the meeting facilitator. Part of the role of the chair will be to set the agenda. A key consideration for this will be to think through timings. While there may be regular standing items on the agenda for some meetings, it's important not to overload too many items onto the agenda, especially if some time is needing more attention. Within the meeting, the chairperson also has a key role to play. The chairperson helps to move the meeting along to make certain it doesn't get unnecessarily bogged down. That might also mean trying to steer back to the main point of any conversation. It's amazing how easy it is to end up being led off on a tangent and finish up having a different conversation than the one needed. Part of the skill of chairing can be to be specific about the kind of response being asked for and how you want people to join in. For online meetings, this might involve using chat facilities or interactive tools the platform might offer, such as polls or whiteboards. In an in-person meeting, it can be about clarifying whether this is a conversation, a decision, or simply to test the temperature about a particular issue. Good facilitation also means finding ways to draw in those who may be less forthcoming and to work with those who always seem to have a lot to say. This can be especially tricky for online meetings, where body language and visual cues can be hard to discern. But as one writer observes, people who talk a lot in meetings talk even longer virtually. Perhaps one tool would be to define how long contributors should speak for. Sometimes cultural expectations can play a role in how people respond to and contribute in meetings, alongside personality and experience. One AI tool suggested the following as key skills for facilitating meetings: start on time, end on time, restate the purpose at the start, manage airtime to balance voices, keep discussions on topic, summarize moments of clarity, check for consensus before moving on. Take a moment to reflect, perhaps pausing the video. Have you been in a meeting that felt well led? What made the difference? Have you had any negative meetings experiences, and what made it that way? For some meetings, a key tool can be to assign actions with nominated people responsible, which can be reviewed at the next session. This can be a helpful way for things to move forward rather than just getting to the next meeting without any progress. Listing things out separately from the minutes can be a useful way to make sure things aren't overlooked. It can also be helpful, especially for the chair, to reflect on how the meeting went. Did everyone attend who was expected? Did anyone unhelpfully dominate over all others? Was there any tension or difficulty that arose? Sometimes meetings can involve facing difficult issues or having robust conversations. But as one observer notes, it's okay to have emotions during your meeting. That means you care. It's not okay to attack your colleagues personally. This brings us back to where we started this session. What is it that makes the difference for a church-based context? In Acts 4, the first Christians are described as being one in heart and mind. But if you read on in the New Testament, you discover that didn't last. By Acts 6, there was tension about how the food bank program works for the Hellenistic Jews. Later, there was further tensions around the inclusion of non-Jews in the church. But that does not mean that we should not seek to maintain the unity of the Spirit and model a different approach. Church members' meetings should be different to the local residents' association. Leaders' meetings should differ from trustees' meeting outside of the church. Whatever the subject, our meeting should be as the people of God seeking His will for His glory.